Your alumni love helping students and fellow graduates, but they simply don't have time to attend every event, answer every call, or learn yet another online platform. With Protopia, making an impact is easier than it's ever been before. Ever. There's no new app to sign up for or use in our already busy lives. Students, alumni, or even staff can quickly ask for advice or networking via a simple form, email, or text. Protopia's artificial intelligence searches the institution's existing alumni data to find the best experts that are the most likely to assist based on experience, availability, location, and other factors. Each matched alum receives a direct, blind email to ask them to help, giving alumni full control over if and how they want to respond, whether that's by email, call, or a virtual meeting. And if it's not a good time, Protopia's AI simply reaches out to the next alum until the question has been answered. The student receives advice right into her email inbox and is coached to engage the alum to grow her professional network. Finally, our rich dashboard lets staff follow along, view detailed engagement analytics, and access updated alumni data. Protopia. Simple for them, simple for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for listening to Alumless for Friday, March 28th, 2025. This is the Alumni as an Engagement Constituency edition. I'm Ryan Catherwood. I am joined by my colleague, founder, and CEO of CMAC, Chris Marshall. What's going on, sir?
Hey, Ryan. Good to see you. How are you?
Indeed. Happy Friday. It's been a busy week, but glad to gather here on a Friday to record our session with our special guest, Gina Yazzolino from the University of Portland. You heard that right. We are pre-recorded today. I am actually, as you are listening to this, as we are broadcasting, I am in Mexico on a lounge by a pool. And so, but we still wanted to make sure to bring you what will be an awesome edition of the show. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe to the podcast version of Alumless and Alumless World to hear our 30-minute bonus segment with all of our special guests. And if you're listening to the podcast right now, we appreciate you. So thank you for doing that. And
when the show does air next week, Ryan, I will be able to be on live while you're vacationing. I'll be working, but I'll be on live and I can answer questions.
That sounds great. And I know Gina will tune in as well and we would love to answer your questions in the comment section of the LinkedIn event. That's the best way to do that. And of course, we're grateful for Max Leisten and the team at Protopia for their partnership and for being our presenting sponsor of the show. Chris, we often use the word constituent in our line of work. I find maybe we're using it more than before, perhaps. Yeah. But I wanted to get your take on it. The title of the show, we're talking about the alumni constituency. And, are there other words that are sort of similar words that we use as a field? What's going on?
Yeah. So yes, I think constituents being used more often. I'm seeing it in titles of offices like Gina's title and her own operation there. I've heard people embrace it and love it. I've heard people say it's confusing to our constituents, but I don't think it's the case. I've heard people, we have clients who use alumni, parents, families, fans, and friends, or some version or flavor of that. My favorite of all these versions, Ryan, I think I've told you the story, is that when I was working with Indiana University on a strategic plan, we were talking about how to define who the scope of people they're trying to work with, who are their constituents. They have an alumni association, but they also invited parents, family, fans, friends, all the constituents were included. So they ended up in the language they used in one of their statements was, instead of writing each word out, they said, for all who love IU. Yes. So it was the way to say, I don't care who you are, what constituency you're from. If you love the place, you're included. That's how they thought about their population, which was a really cool solution.
Yeah. Sometimes you hear the word stakeholder thrown around, which like the constituency word is maybe something, when I think of a constituency group, I often think of politics, which isn't quite right. Like your voters, isn't quite the same sort of angle. But I mean, you're right. It's kind of a word to encapsulate multiple segments. Other schools, I was just at a strategic planning workshop, and they'll do like the mascot plus nation on there. Like Zag Nation or Knights Nation, right? Or Broncos Nation, as the case may be.
I had a vice president one time in a strategic planning process when this conversation was going on. The vice president came into the discussion and said, I don't want you to worry about all those other ones. I want you to worry about alumni. That's your focus. And this person was talking to the alumni staff when they said it, and the leadership of the alumni program. So don't worry about parents, families, friends, and fans. Worry about alumni. So they actually changed all their language to alumni. So it became more focused for them.
Well, I guess that is kind of the interesting tension point, isn't it? Right. And what we're going to have some conversation about is alumni the main point, or is it one of the constituencies? And how do we know what's the right approach? So let's bring out our fabulous special guests today.
There she is.
Gina Yazzolino from the University of Portland. She is the Assistant Vice President for Constituent Engagement. Hey, Gina, what's going on?
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Chris.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for being on the show. We're so glad to have you, and you've been flexible, and you're even first thing, you've got Alumless on your calendar first thing on a Friday, which maybe it's a heck of a way to start the day. Maybe but let's talk about the term constituent engagement. It is intentionally broad. Let's talk about what it means at the University of Portland and how it may go beyond alumni engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. So much to what Chris was talking about just a couple minutes ago, in that all-encompassing grouping of individuals that we work with on a daily basis. So it goes beyond alumni here at University of Portland. It is parents and families. It is donors and friends. And it even goes past to our community. We are still, while we are a larger metropolitan city in Oregon, we are still a small community. And so with University of Portland nestled in a very strong neighborhood in the North Portland area, we have that ability to reach out to neighbors. We have fans who come to pilot games. We have strong ties to the Catholic Archdiocese here in Portland. We have strong ties to the city. So we look at the whole city and the whole community as part of our our constituencies. Recently, with when Dr. Rob Kelly came on board in 2022, our new strategic plan very much laid out that the University of Portland is of Portland, for Portland, and with Portland. So that's where where we decided to start to think about that broader sense. And also much to IU's tagline, you're a pilot for life. So it doesn't matter how you came to campus or how you're involved with campus, you are part of being a University of Portland for all the time.
Love it. Makes sense. I love it. You hit the first part of my next question, but let me ask you the second. So you have a team of people who do this work underneath you. How do you balance it across those various constituencies? Is it lean more towards alumni all year long, or is it ebb and flow depending on the time of what's going on? And
absolutely. So it does ebb and flow. Now that when we our new vision for constituent engagement took place when our new VP of University Relations came on board, and Greg Naleski was coming from Catholic University. And they're using this model out there, and they had just finished a huge comprehensive campaign, which all of this played into, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that we're going to be moving into that space ourselves, this is how we all started to come together. So initially, when I came on board at U of P, I was the director of alumni and parent relations. And then I inherited the annual giving team. And one of the biggest things that I saw is how complementary those two pieces are. If you go back to the traditional piece of moves management, whether you're in the engagement side or you're on the fundraising side, you are doing the same work. Your solicitation piece just looks different. Your call to action on the engagement side is volunteerism, it's alumni leadership, it's coming to events, it's showing up differently than just writing a check. However, the core pieces of all of that, the identification, the cultivation, the stewardship, all of that falls into the engagement world. And so very much focusing on integrating those two pieces because they intersect all the time. And what we ended up doing is putting together a strategic plan between the two teams to come together as one, knowing
when you
that—
say the two teams, you mean annual giving and alumni? Okay.
Yep, annual giving and alumni and parent relations, having them come together, knowing that there would be a point in time in the calendar where we would do an ask. There would be a point in time in the calendar where we'd be doing an engagement activity, and just how that all intersects throughout the year. And so we had a very strong plan this year on how to make that all come together and be cohesive and integrated. And all of it based on storytelling.
How long have you been at this now? It's been a couple of years, you said?
18 months in the, we're just under 18 months in the constituent engagement model.
And share some of the growing pains, or maybe even still challenges that you're facing today. What are on that list, or still on that list?
Still, I think the biggest challenge was actually physicality of the two teams. Not only were we very much, we're both part of the same division, university relations, but there very much was its engagement and its annual fundraising. And not only did we have that piece, those two pieces separated, but we're on completely opposite ends of campus. So we have everyone on the annual giving side in the advancement office. We have everyone in alumni and parent engagement in a house all the way on the other side of campus. So
I've seen that model.
Yes, basically trying to get us all together, in one space to really gel as a team, to understand what the right hand is doing with the left hand, all those things took some time. And so I think that was the biggest challenge, is just the physicality and rebuilding the culture of, again, it goes back to everything we do. It starts with engagement. The foundation is there no matter what our end goal or an outcome is. It all starts with how are we building the relationship with the constituent, and how are we tailoring our conversations or our call to actions or our call to feel or our call to think, all in that space.
Do you feel as though so far, Gina, you've been the distance, and that still exists, right? You all are still across campus. And so do you feel as though you've been able to sort of rhetorically, I suppose, reduce the distance with some of the work you've been doing?
Absolutely. My teams are fantastic. My team members work really hard to connect with each other. Again, we pride ourselves here at UP on being so mission focused, and that relationship building piece. It comes very naturally. I'm very fortunate. I have a number of alumni on staff. So that brings home that piece of how much we're wanting to connect with each other and people in the external communities. So we have that luxury of being able to do that. So the physicality piece, we have to be very mindful of bringing ourselves together and having good, thoughtful conversations that go beyond just your traditional, we're having a meeting today.
Yeah. I remember I led a merged alumni and career services team. And when we first started merging those units, I had an office in both locations. They were separate. They weren't all the way on the other side of campus. And eventually we had like one alumni person over in the career center, and then a career person over in the alumni center. You know what I mean? And we tried, and eventually we moved everybody together because the distance, the two separate spaces really matters when you're like building teams. And if you have that as an option, of course, bringing people together was a good thing. Chris, I don't know if you were going to add on to that, but
I was going to just get a quick check on the size of these teams. What are we talking about? Annual giving, alumni engagement. Give us a sense of the scope of the crew.
Yeah, so the annual giving team has 3 full-time gift officers, We have a marketing fund manager who helps write all of our appeals. And then on the engagement side, we have 2 alumni engagement professionals and a parent engagement professional. And we also have a business manager who helps pick up all offices.
With you included, there's 8 or 9 people overall, something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, and so utilizing scarce resources, right? Really important to have everybody sort of involved. All the pieces have to connect, which is a challenge. So I guess bridging the gap between the units space-wise is hugely a challenge. Have you found any other challenges in terms of bridging that gap between engagement and fundraising, sort of connecting the dots, so to speak?
Just reframing that conversation for all the constituencies involved, and being able to, again, effectively communicate as one full team that everything starts with engagement. Then it moves on to, kind of figuring out who wants to do what in what space. So that wasn't necessarily a challenge. We pulled back a little bit on the fundraising space last year in annual giving, just so I could get the LGOs, which is what we call our annual giving officers, leadership giving officers, in a good space about building relationships and not being so transactional, while we really focused on the engagement and rebuilding the brand and understanding that we are including all people. Alumni come first and foremost always, because they are the bread and butter, and they're the bones of what we are. They're our students who then become alumni. So it was really just bringing all those things together, and slowly changing the culture for the whole team, so that we would be able to speak the same language, tell the same stories, and be able to get everyone on board with being in that space.
Yeah. Chris, I think some of the ideas we've been just surfacing in the conversation sort of connect to key gaps we often find, right? Working with teams in the area of constituent engagement, when they're trying to bring what were previously separate units together, when they're trying to bring previously siloed work together, when they're trying to bring previously, leaders who may not have been sort of forced to plan together to create shared goals. I mean, all these things are kind of a factor, but as you see, Chris, when schools kind of forging ahead and finding success in the more integrated models here, what are some of the things that are happening?
Yeah, well, kudos, Gina, for the work you've done. I love the way you talked about identification, cultivation, solicitation, stewardship. We're doing all those things. We're just soliciting for something different if you're not on the fundraising side. I think it's simple and it's clear, and folks should understand that. But to your point, Ryan, where I see people struggling with this is a matter. It often comes down to culture. Frankly, the culture of an institute. There's an old saying, and it's a good one. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, because you can have the best plan in the world, and if you don't have the culture change and the management and leadership, frankly, of the people in the right way, it doesn't matter what the plan is, it's not going to work. And so getting that culture to change and evolve into that integrated approach is key. I think focus is another big part. You've heard me say this, it's a little cliche, but the old in real estate, it's location. In alumni engagement, I think it's focus, and focus, because we get too much on our plates. We do too much, and getting the right focus on it. And so when you think about it from multiple constituencies now, we take it to another level. If you have 8 resources to deploy, and 4 of them are going to be towards the fundraising side, it's going to be clear how they work. But the other 4, do they spend what amount of time on alumni versus fans and friends and families and other pieces of it? It can get hard. And when those plates fill up and there's too many things on it, everything is sort of vanilla. There's no really great thing that comes out of it. So you have to have the focus in order to get that areas where you're
there's definitely other advantages too, but one of the struggles I think is aligning events, right? Because you have advancement events, really, and therefore you're thinking about joint planning on what that calendar looks like, and who are the constituency groups invited, and it's sort of, you have to sort of bring everybody together around sort of cross-unit planning across the entire looking out a couple of quarters or even a semester.
Yeah. And part of it is the leadership, Gina, that you bring in your role, is reminding people what we're trying to get to. So, and then celebrating successes when they happen. I'm sure there have been some along the way. Any moments you want to share that fall into sort of like, there it is. That's the one. And we want to do that. Replicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things for us is, we're heading into our annual giving day. So Pilots Give will happen in April. And what we're seeing already is a lot of people participating in some of the activities and the push we've put out to get ready for Pilots Give. But I credit that with that aha moment I had right at calendar year end, where we had implemented in fall we implemented this calendar, this strategy of how are we going to intersect the fundraising app and then the call to feel, call to think engagement app. And being able to do that effortlessly, my team stepped up big time and delivered some amazing deliverables, both in the print and digital space, in the event space. We brought in young alumni. I mean, we had all these different things that happened through fall. And so between calendar year end and the easy dollar metrics I can see, and an increase in fundraising on the annual giving side, and then heading into Pilots Give and the excitement and the just the excitement and momentum that we currently have, that these are my aha moments of this strategy is working, and we are communicating to our constituents, we are communicating to our alumni how important this is. Our alumni donor count is up, and in most spaces, people are seeing that count go down, right? For the last couple of years. Now we're seeing it go up.
For sure, yeah.
So we are totally bucking the trend. And I do have to give a shout out to our whole university relations team. And we're having one of the best fundraising years we've had in the history of the school. So there's that piece as well. But it definitely, we're starting to see, those are my aha moments of this strategy is working because we've engaged in the storytelling and the intersectionality of both spaces.
Yeah.
And people are responding to it.
I'm going to go off script here for a second, but Gina, you'll be fine. Ryan, don't worry. We're good on time here. Get your giving day coming up next month.
Yeah.
I've seen giving days happening last week, this week, and some coming up next. And so April, how many have you done? What year is this for your giving day?
So I think it's year 5 or 6. Okay. It predates me arriving on campus 4 years ago.
Got it. Mm-hmm. And how are you setting expectations, I'll call it that, around this particular giving day, given the climate that's out there in the world that we live in today? What are you expecting?
That's a great question. I'm riding on that momentum that our community, very much we live in a space where, we're a Catholic Holy Cross school, so we're very focused on service and social justice, and we're in a space of Portland, Oregon, where we so focus on Giving Day on the student experience and not only what are they doing in the classroom, but what are they doing outside the classroom. Yeah. And so that gives us that opportunity of being able to really showcase how important it is to invest in UP and invest in the students for an optimal campus experience. So I feel like our momentum is high right now, and we're feeling good about it. We have our GOs and our MGOs doing a lot of pre-commit work as well. So
the fact that you live in the state that you reside in campus in the state of Oregon makes it a little easier on you guys. I'll have to say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I was also just in my head, I was thinking through kind of the idea that ideally the success of a giving day like the one you're working on is really potentially enhanced by a constituent engagement unit, right? Yeah. Where it's a perfect example of a pan institution initiative where if you have everybody working towards it, which you now could have, right? Because they're all in the same team. When they're in, have you noticed sort of particular areas of growth or collaboration in the run up to the producing what will I'm sure be each year an improved Giving Day?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a key piece of the momentum that we have right now. So our Pilot Give Day also coincides with Scholarship Day, which on the academic side, our seniors are presenting their capstone projects. There have senior awards breakfast. It's a whole piece of programming all day long. We then culminate at the lunch time with an advancement scholarship luncheon. So that's our stewardship piece for all of our donors who have named and endowed scholarships. And then throughout the day, we're doing the pilots give. So this is a prime example of we're hitting every constituency group in the long term for the whole day and showcasing different pieces on campus. So it's not just, it's the whole community and everything from academics to athletics to scholarship to all the things that go into making UP what is UP.
Love it.
Yeah, and I guess the last part is the community part. You said like the university community, but then Portland as well, right? Is there another sort of strategy to get the entire city on your giving day, right? Because if we are for Portland, just sort of like thinking about what's that even more substantial outreach look like?
Yeah, so that's probably a strategy to tackle in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But where we've started in a small space is we are offering up every spring we have pilot talks. So it's our version of TED Talks. And so this year we have community partners who are showing up to be a part of that. So we'll be able to start leveraging those pieces, like who are our speakers coming to campus that are community members, who are our athletic partners who are using our child center, which is our main basketball center, who is coming, what schools are coming to campus in the community, all those types of things. What city leaders are we bringing to campus to talk about bigger issues? So once those things start to happen on a more regular basis, then we will be able to leverage that into the community piece.
Good stuff. This is great. Ryan, I'm going to take it back to you to wrap this up and ask you the question that you usually ask me, but I'm going to ask you since you're more well-informed on this. Give us our lineup. We have Alumless World coming up this week. We had one today, actually. And then the regular Alumless in another week or two from now. And then give us the lineup. What's coming up?
Yeah, well, we are fortunate to have a couple of great shows coming up on the podcast. We've got Sean Devender from Tufts University coming up. He is leads a merged alumni and annual giving team, right, Chris?
Yep, exactly right. Yep.
It's not yet a constituent engagement title, and so it's interesting, the differences there around constituent engagement plus or the merger of alumni and annual giving. But we'll talk to Sean about his experience there. And then Emily Robin is the Associate Dean for Advancement at the London Business School. So Nicole and I recorded a conversation with Emily, and she is actually commuting from Paris to London for the work week, and because she was at INSEAD before taking the job at the London Business School. And one of the interesting sort of parts of her narrative is kind of going across borders, right? And leading some of the change there. So excited to have Sean on the lineup for next week, and then Emily from the London Business School on Alumless World coming up. That will be on. So actually, it's Emily. Because Gina, our episode, I'm a week behind.
Right, exactly.
Our episode here is on the 28th, and then we've got Sean on the 11th, Emily on the 4th. We're doing so much Alumless and Alumless World. I'm just getting my dates every other Friday. All right. Well, we're going to pick up the conversation with Gina in our bonus segment. And we thank Max and the team at Protopia for being our sponsoring partner for this episode. And for everyone who's listening to the podcast, we'll be back right after the break. Everybody else, we'll see you again next week.